Welcome back. Win here. If you're using ServiceNow and want to turn your data into powerful insights, this video is for you. Today, we're diving into reports and dashboards in ServiceNow and how you can visualize your data like a pro. Let's start with reports. A report in ServiceNow is a way to display data from a table in a visual format like charts, lists, or graph. Think of reports as your way to answer questions like how many incidents are open, what's the average resolution time, which team has the most tickets. Some of the use cases that we've seen commonly, in my experience, tracking open and close incidents or tasks, monitoring SLA performance, analyzing ticket trends, essentially measuring team productivity. Now, there are several types of reports that you can essentially create. Let's go over some of these types. So we have bar charts. Bar charts are great when we're looking to compare categories. Pie charts when we're looking at showing proportions. Line charts display trends over time. The list reports that show detailed records. And pivot tables essentially summarize and group data. Now, choosing the right report type is essential for effective data visualization. Now, how do we create a report? Right, so let's follow these steps to create a report, and we'll do a demo of creating a report so you can see how simple this is. But essentially, you navigate to reports, essentially create new, select the data source, such as incident table, and we'll use that as our example today. Choose a report type, so as mentioned on the type before, a bar chart, pie chart, line, list, or pivot. Essentially apply filters to ensure we're refining the data and only showing the data we want to see. Configure any visualization settings, and then essentially save and run the report. So let's go ahead and create our first report. So I'm just going to go to new tab. Essentially now I'm going to go reports. Essentially, if I just click on reports, it will take me to this page. Now, this is the list view of essentially all reports. I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. So now we get to this user interface here. Essentially, I'm going to give the report a name. So let's just say incidents. Let's say all active incidents as an example. Then we're going to pick the source type, so we're going to go with table. So a few others you can pick as essentially a data source, and essentially any data sources here, essentially performance indicators that you can essentially reuse. But let's go with table to keep it simple for the time being. So now I'm going to search for incident. So essentially we've got our recent choice there, and essentially I'm going to click on next. This is now going to take me to the types of data. So essentially we talked about bars, pies, and whatnot. We're going to stick with lists, and I'll showcase some of the other examples when we go into creating a dashboard. But essentially here we've got the list view of incidents. So I'm going to go to next, and essentially here's where I can configure this list view here, so I can choose what columns or what group by, if I want to group it by a particular field. So let's do some of that. So one of the things you'll see here when you're looking at columns is you see items in a green kind of font color with a plus. This essentially means they are reference fields, and essentially you can, in a report, drop down and essentially showcase fields in that particular table as well. So knowing the table is very crucial, so you can essentially be able to know how to kind of navigate the data you want. So for example, for an incident, caller is essentially populated depending on who's actually raised the incident, and that's essentially the user record, and essentially I can get more information of that particular user if I would like. So let's do one example. So we're going to select caller here, for example, and I'm just going to go into the kind of drop down of that reference field, and essentially here I can go and find out any particular information about that user. So I'm going to actually ask for the user's email as well. So I'm going to move that over. As you can see here, caller.email is provided. I'm just going to move that under caller just to keep that kind of neat and tidy. And then essentially I'm just going to click OK. Now, whenever you make a change, you do need to click run just to see it. As we see here now, we've got caller, and also we've got the email of that caller as well. Now, if I want to group this by, I can essentially group this by, let's do priority, just to showcase this. Okay. And I'm just going to run this, and you can see now it brings back the 70 total instance grouped by priorities. 28 are priority 1, 5 are high, so on and so forth. And I can essentially expand this list to see under that particular group. Okay, now essentially let's add some filters. So we've got 70 total instances, but really I only care about the instance that are active. So let's go into active. So this is where I can essentially build my condition and say active is true. Now when I run this from the 70, we now see there are 38 total instances. And that's essentially us creating a report. So a few things now, I'm just going to go and look at any styling that I want to add. So when we talk about kind of personalizing this a little bit, so I can essentially add a chart title. So instance, and essentially change the color to, let's see, blue example. So now if I run this, we can see here that's essentially provided this. So now I'm just going to save this, and we've essentially created our first report. Now let's go into what a dashboard is. Now a dashboard is essentially a collection of reports displayed in a single interface. The dashboards can provide a consolidated view of key metrics and performance indicators. Essentially, benefits of a dashboard is real-time data visibility. So when you go to a dashboard, you can see straight away multiple reports that essentially are all being updated as soon as you essentially open that dashboard. It has a centralized reporting, provides improved decision making by kind of allowing you to see multiple reports that could essentially support in a decision instead of in terms of looking at all the active incidents and all of the kind of priority, and essentially then ensuring that it has the right amount of support. And essentially you can tie it to roles, so essentially ensuring that the right users see the right reports and the right dashboards. Essentially creating one for like a manager or support analyst as an example. So let's go through how to create a dashboard. Now we can essentially navigate to self-service with dashboards, click on new dashboard, we add the widgets essentially, or create the widgets, and essentially just arrange and resize and essentially save the dashboard. So let's go into doing this step by step. So I'm going to go back to this ServiceNow homepage. I'm going to select or search for dashboards, and now with the introduction of platform analytics, essentially you get this view, and it's more a new and improved view compared to kind of the more legacy version. But essentially here, when I create a dashboard, it will ask me if I want to go for inline or technical. For now, let's go for inline, which is the more simple version of creating a dashboard. And let's basically say incident overview. Okay, and I'm just going to go and create a new dashboard. Now we're in our editing mode, so I'm going to go and add a few new elements. So over here we can essentially add some data, some filters, some headings. So let's essentially add a heading quickly. Okay, and in the label I'm just going to say overview showcasing everything incident. Just as an example, just to showcase what this would look like. Great, and now let's add a new element. Let's do a data visualization now. So let's go for a new visualization. And what we're essentially going to do is rebuild our report. So let's go for a list view. Go with data. So I'm going to add data source. I'm going to go with incident. Okay, I'm going to see if we can see any predefined. So let's just go with open. We can see condition is active is true. And I'm going to add this source. And now I can see a list view of data. Now, let's add a few more elements and showcase some of the other types. So let's go with a bar chart for the next. So we are going to go with horizontal bar. Let's go find the data. Let's go with incident. And let's just see if we can find anything that is new. Let's run this. Okay, let's try. Okay. And now we can see a bar chart here, and I can resize this accordingly. And let's just add a few more just to showcase the different ones or different types. So let's go with line. Let's see if we can maybe use some instance. So let's go with resolved in time, breakdown by priority. Let's see. Let's do SLA, might make more sense. Is actually, let's not add a condition. Let's see what this provides. Okay, no data available. Let's try removing this data source. Okay, let's scratch this and let's try another one. So we're just gonna go with line. Let's go with data source. We can go with incident. Let's say open not updated 30 days. Okay. And it's just building that visualization. And now we can see here. So let's make this a little bit smaller. Bring this up here. And now we've got a line view, and we can just drag this back up. Actually, there we go. Okay, and that's essentially how we could build our dashboard. Now, one really nice thing to show is I really do like the type, which I haven't actually mentioned, which is single score, and this just gives you some really nice kind of numbers just to showcase straight away. So let's add a new element and quickly show visualization, single score. We're gonna add a data source, incidents, and let's actually add a custom condition, and we're gonna say opened on today. Okay, add the source. Wait, and we're gonna give it a header and just give it something like new instance opened today. Right. Okay, and we can see that's done it. And what I would like to do is just move this up to here, and then essentially let's try and make this a bit neater. Okay, so just to give a quick example, we've created an instant overview dashboard. We've got our new instance open today. We have our incidents here just right next to it, which is all our active incidents. We've got a bar chart here, and then essentially we've got our line chart that's showing the incidents that are essentially not updated over the last 30 days. Now, if I save this and I'm just going to exit editing mode, I can see the data here. Now, the great thing about the visualization, which I really like, is if I click on this, it takes me to the list view of those records. So anything that's open to date would have shown essentially here. Let's just showcase this working. So I'm just going to create a new incident. Right, let's just give it a taller test. Yeah. Okay, we can see there's one incident. Now let's go back to our dashboard and let's just refresh this, and here we go. We can see there's one incident we raised today, and we've got our list views that essentially we can click on a number and it will take us to that record. Similarly, if we scroll down to a bar chart, if we click on the bar chart, it will take us to the actual data set of records. And if I go to here, essentially if I click on a line, it will take me to those 10 incidents. Great. So there we go. We've created a dashboard. We showcased how essentially you can create some reports under a dashboard. There's some common mistakes to avoid essentially. Overloading dashboards with too many widgets. As you saw here, we got quite a few widgets, but adding too many might essentially not be as neat as you'd like. So ensuring that you have it visually represented, but also from a performance perspective, having too many reports on one dashboard loading at one time could actually cause performance issues, especially if you have some really big data or some complex conditions. So it's always nice to keep it simple where possible. Using inappropriate report types, so just ensuring that whatever you're trying to show works with the type of report that you're looking to showcase it. Not applying proper filters, so essentially when we looked at active incidents, if rather than looking at active incidents we just selected new but expected it to be showcasing active, it wouldn't be an accurate representation of the data we're trying to show. So just ensuring that we understand what we're trying to show and how to best kind of build those conditions in correctly. Ignoring performance impact is a huge mistake I've seen. So when we're looking at loading data, you don't want to load millions of records on a dashboard. You want to keep it bucketed, categorized, and just show what you need to show at that moment of time. Now, best practices: keep dashboards simple and focused, use filters for dynamic views, schedule reports for automatic delivery, use clear titles and labels, and just regularly review and optimize your reports. And that's essentially our reports and dashboards. To conclude, reports and dashboards in ServiceNow are essential for turning raw data into meaningful insights. By using the right report types and designing effective dashboards, you can greatly improve visibility, enhance decision making, and also optimize operations. So I hope you liked the video. Please give it a thumbs up, comment if you have any questions, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.